the vendor with a $600 threshold. Now that law has been changed to a $5,000 threshold. So there's going to be a lot of
okay, so you're using the word vendor and the word subcontractor as two different things.
Yes.
So because an LLC could be a vendor providing services.
Right. A construction company has to buy nails. If they buy more than $5,000 worth of nails from a vendor, they have to send a 1099 to the vendor that indicates that they've paid the vendor more than $5,000. So the IRS then now not only has a check and balance for employee or subcontractor, but it also now is developing vendor cross-checking, so it can check whether the seller of the nails is reporting all of its income.
And that's part of the changes that I was talking about. There's some things that I haven't seen the releases on yet. I haven't looked them up, but often.
We make a habit of sending out a W-9 with everyone's first invoice. So, because I get called all the time, I need a W-9. So every time clients getting their first time invoice, we just slip the W-9 in there. So
yeah, and that's something that I've done too.
yeah,
It's just easier that way.
it's like,
Law firms are exempt from certain requirements.
we still have to send out our W-9. Client asks.
Yes.
Just so I'm clear, I provide a service that I invoice for, and I do both work for private and commercial. So does this apply to me as far as 1099 is concerned?
Commercial.
Yeah.
Commercial would.
So if a property management company had me come in and I did an inspection, I should be getting the 1099 for that.
Are you a sole proprietor in LLC?
LLC,
Yeah, you should.
only if it's over 600.
In a year. For the year.
For the year,
For the
yeah.
job.
For the year.
600 for the year, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? We're going to wrap up and go to Krystal.
When you set up, you're saying the simple QuickBooks, when you're setting up your accounts, is there, if you're not purchasing and buying a lot of things yet, do you just start with like some basic accounts? I mean, I'm assuming you would start with the general ledger and.
Well, you would start with the basic chart of accounts, and a simple, quick setup is chart of accounts, your items and services, your vendors, and your customers. Those are the 4 things that you need to operate QuickBooks. What that does, it allows you to get your information in to prepare your financial statements. Okay, because if you're entering everything in, you can reconcile your bank account, you can prepare your financial statements for that. If not, you're doing it by hand, or you're doing it in a spreadsheet, which is a lot harder to do. So once you do the data input into QuickBooks, you can run your reports.
Okay.
So it makes it a lot
Just
easier.
basically you're setting up those 4 things.
You're setting that part, that is the skeleton of the QuickBooks file in
Okay.
itself. So once you get those set up, then you're pretty good to go with, even if you just enter your checks and your debits and put your deposits in and you reconcile your bank account, at least you're going to get your financial statements out of it, and it's worth it for that. It makes it a lot easier. Gives you something more concrete to look at.
One thing I want to share, I went to a seminar in September put on by a law firm, and in that they made a strong case to not just have a relationship with an insurance agency or whatever, but also to take your insurance policies and run them past your attorney. Because in a lot of cases there are exceptions and things like that where you think you're covered but you're not covered, and if you don't understand the lingo that the insurance company uses, you want to run it past your attorney.
And that's a good point. Anything that you don't understand, that's why the attorney is so key. Your accountant is so key. They're the professionals. They're the ones that have gotten the certifications to do what they do. Go to them, ask them to look things over. Ask them to help you with your contracts. Look over contracts. If someone gives you a contract, go to them and ask them to look over it. Okay? All right, we're going to pass the flame to Krystal.
Hope it's not burning.
Good job, Beth.
That's not all scary stuff, I promise you. right,
scary.
if you have the right relationships, let me say again, this is not scary stuff. I'm gonna touch back on something that Peg spoke about earlier, which is the foundation for success. We're all familiar at this point with mindset, vision, purpose, strategy. With strategy, I add communication for a very specific reason, and action, which leads to decision. And we talked a little on how earlier. We are going to skip how for now, and we are going to start at mindset, just like you start this process every time. With mindset, how many of you in this room own your own business? How many of you, if you were asked as owner, if you see yourself as CEO, how many hands would that be? More than I thought. I'll toss you the candy bar. How about that? Because there are too many people that don't see themselves as CEO. And that's a problem, because when you're looking at mindset as the very basis of this, if you don't see yourself as the owner, as the person who holds the vision and the purpose behind this business, then how will you ever sell your idea, your purpose, your beliefs in what you're doing in business? So many of you will probably have a business that you are the only person and you see yourself as an island, a business of one. There is no such thing. It doesn't exist, because you're going to have clients, you're going to have subs potentially, you're going to have someone that you're purchasing from, vendors, whatever it may be, you are not alone. So whether you are an only and you have to find a way to find that mindset, there are ways to do it. And these are some of the tools that I have used over the years. Just a couple examples of websites that I really enjoy and have really helped me through the process. If you're in sales and you need the tough love talk, go to Gittimer, because he's going to hit you where accountability lives and breathes. If you need touchy-feely, sometimes Enlighten Your Day is where you probably should go. If you do not feel like being kicked. Here's also Legacy Connection, which I find in my transition from business has been a very soft place to fall. And in business, that is something that can become very important. You feel like it's a dog-eat-dog world when you're out there sometimes, and it's important to be with people who understand what you're going through and can help you through those growing pains. So I would strongly advise you to use this. If you're someone who has employees, or you work in a company and you have people that you are managing, morning rally meetings are something that I did every single week, and oftentimes every morning if I felt like crews needed them. Like I told you before, I owned a construction company, and I found myself at the back of tailgate giving a speech. And that mindset was important for everything, because the people that I sent out there to do business for me were touching my clients. And they were the number one person in my life that I had to keep their head in the game. So if my head isn't on straight, their head isn't on straight. So keep that in mind. When you step out of business, make sure you've put yourself in a situation where your mindset is true to what your visions are, what your purposes are, what your beliefs about your business is. This is what you're putting out into the world. So have your head on when you do it. The next is vision. Probably many of you look at me and you think, how did you get into construction? Well, I can tell you, I had no vision for it. That's for sure. I had no makings of going into construction. I happened to find myself in a situation where two people who had a lot of experience with construction needed someone who had a lot of experience in business, or felt like they had a lot of experience in business. So vision basically from construction has always been the blueprint for me. For many of you in business, you see it as the business plan. Whether you're constructing or reconstructing, go through those visioning processes with yourself. Really take a step back and look at what you want. For me, vision was very tied to purpose. And I'll tell you, when I looked at going into business for myself, it was about the fact that I wanted to have freedom.